Hello! Hi, Chromium. Sorry, I was just messaging out to Discord telling everyone that the letter from the producer live was up. I am a little bit tired. It is 5 a.m. here. How are you doing? Oh, and let me know if the audio or anything is off at all and it needs to be adjusted. Hey, there we go. There's the crew. I will be trying to keep up with the Final Fantasy XIV Discord. Who will be doing a live translation, though maybe a little bit behind. For this will be in Japanese. Currently, they're just saying good. Hello, everyone. Good morning.
いやなんというか、そのパッチ運用に戻ってくるのが、結構久しぶり感がすごいあって。
It's been a long time since they did one on Friday, I think, or this time at this time.
そうなんですよ。最近ね、まあずっと拡張とかも続いてたから、なんていうのこうでかいプロデューサーレタライブみたいな感じでやってきたんで、ちょっと。
Ooh, let's find out about 6.1.
そうなんです。テスト放送の時もちょっと言ったんですけど、これっていわゆる通常回の PLL じゃないですか。特殊なセットアップもなく。
The last time they've been talking about back to a normal live letter, seeing as the past live letters have all been about expansions. So since this will be one about primarily just about 6.1 and regular length, which should be about 1 to 2 hours.
セットになってるとかいう時だったりしたので、実は久しぶりでした。
そうだよね。
ということで、そんな久々の今日第69回 PLL は、お待ちかねパッチ 6.1 コンテンツ特集パート1ということで
Today will be part 1 for the features added in 6.1.
になってまいりました。
コメントでいきなり吹いちゃった。吉田変なヒゲしてんな。
People in the comments keep commenting on Yoshi P's beard.
冒頭からそんな俺のテンション下げなくてもいいじゃん。
そうですよ。
There is no translation officially, but there is one in the Final Fantasy XIV Discord for in translations and live letters. I will also be reading it off as it comes by. May be a little bit behind, but it should be, the information should all be good. As the information gets more complicated, it may take a second for the translators to do their work.
はい、よろしくお願いいたします。はい。では始めてまいりましょうか。よろしいですか？
まあまず表紙？
そうです。
First
じゃあ
off,
パワーポイントいきましょうか。お願いします。
they have a little PowerPoint to show.
さて、
まあ従前ですね。私は
Morning, Tracy.
次のね、パッチ 6.1 のタイトルはとてもわかりやすいよ。てかシンプルだよ。
言ってました。
すごいみんな笑っちゃいます
ね。
笑っちゃうぐらいでストレートだよっていう話をしたところですね。
はい。
結構皆さん
Yeah, no problem.
確かに
こうじゃないか。
We have an easy to understand title for 6.1, and I think it might make some people laugh. I always enjoy looking at predictions other players have. We're going to get patch and art title today. We're going to get patch art and the title today. So finally, I've been making jokes about a brave new world. That's just a personal, that's not a Yoshi P. Also try to say who's saying what in terms of Foxconn or Yoshi P. Newfound adventure. Ooh, look at that. That's so pretty.
Newfound adventure.
そのまんまじゃねえか。だから言ったじゃない。
Literally.
新たなる希望が分かりやすくしたいっていう。じゃあもう新たなる冒険でいいんじゃないですかっていう。確かに。そうね。
Oh, that's so lovely. It's all the different Hero Warrior of Light and all the different jobs throughout the expansion so far. Now back to being an adventurer.
おめでとうございます。正解です。ま
あ英語だとニューファウンドアドベンチャーと ということで、光の選手もですね、アートとしては、まあ、
If someone can use Jisho and check those kanji real quick, are they literally just the kanji for adventurer? Or just adventure? So that's Atarashi, that's new, Tanari. Newly discovered adventure? We wanted the artwork to show you that you're going back to being an adventurer. There won't be no, there won't be any new jobs. Haha, Yoshi says. I think he's joking about the new jobs. The plan is it's scheduled to be released mid-April.
さてその気になる公開時期なんですが、もう出しちゃいましょう。こちらです、どうぞ。4月中旬公開予定。知ってたよね。知ってた。中旬の火曜日ってねみたいな。
そうですね。どっちかなみたいな話になってきますね。
Yeah, it really is. I love it's really beautiful and such a fresh slate. Such a perfect title for a fresh slate.
パッチ 6.1 新たなる冒険は4月中旬公開予定ということです。
ということになっております。
はい。
さてでは早速ではありますが、パッチ 6.1 の実装項目の紹介に移っていこうかなと思っておりますが、よろしいですよね。
お願いします。
はい。行きましょう。
Ooh, that's exciting. Happy birthday to you then when that comes out.
スタートということですね。6.0 までをハイデリンゾディアーク編と呼んでいて、もちろん物語としては一応地続きなので、もうなんか全員記憶がなくなってますとか、初めましてとかいう感じ。
There will for the power slides there usually is English subtitles which are some of the most key information. Everything leading up to 6.0 was the Hydaelyn Zodiac arc, but we're starting something new. But of course, in some form, it will be a continuation of what's come before, says Yoshi.
これは想像つかないところですよね。何が始まるのっていうところですよね。
何編になるの？ハイデリンゾディアーク編って言い始めたの。5.0 の PR 中から急に言い始めてるんでね。
Morning, Zellerand. You have not lost anything. The main thing is that they released the new 6.1 will be called Newfound Adventure. And they're going to provide a few screenshots for what we might be looking at for 6.1.
さあというわけで、スクリーンショットを、2枚だけ
2枚もあるよ。
So they got two.
用意してきましたんで、まずご覧いただきましょう。
Only two. So Tataru, probably to do with that new Tataru quest line. It may not be the actual MSQ.
意外と2人ってね、そんなないんですよ。2. 点あれいつだっけ4か5でさ。
Yoshi P says, we had similar scenes like this in patch 2.x already. The Warrior of Light just sitting there with Tataru. Hope we don't faint after drinking that tea. I think he's referencing, old, Nanamo.
どうせ飲み物飲んだら気絶したら記憶がなったり、
ここはどこだみたいな話になって
するんでしょ。
Yes, House of Splendors. That's what it is. Thank you.
の調整やってる時に。絶対飲み物飲むシーンあると聞かせをみんな警戒するから穏やかな形にしようぜってちょっと調整した気はあった。
あれ以来飲み物はちょっと。
Well, you never know, Zellerand. There's a good chance. However, this is primarily going to be 6.1, so we may or may not have job balance stuff in it. It'll be we have yet to see. Hey, Stinian! Look at that smile. Yoshi P says, if we add a cutscene where the Warrior of Light is drinking something, I think everyone will be a little scared. Maybe it is a recruitment interview for the ultimate static. Absolutely. Glad it could be helpful for you.
にゃんと言ったら開かなさそうだよね。転送網が開かなさそう。
I'm hoping that is a map to Marasidia, and we're just plotting our new grand exploration of the world. Oh, that would be so exciting.
少なくともエステニアンは登場するという
そういうことですね。いや楽しみ。
Sorry, I'm also trying to anything that the Discord misses. I'm trying to see if I can translate. I'm not very good at Japanese, but I know a little.
履歴書って言ってる人。これを受け取ってくれ。
連れてってほしい。
相棒、これを俺の履歴書をまとめてみた。確認してくれないか。じゃあ次行きましょう。
はい。次お願いします。
新たなサブクエストタタルの大繁盛商店という
New side quests that will continue through to the later patches, but start in 6.1.
この 6.1 から始まります。
It seems like they're implying that the Estinian quest is also part of those side quests, so it may not actually be part of the MSQ.
さっきの笑顔どこ行った
But that also may not be true.
このタタルをこする感じが
Look at that. That is an evil look from Tataru.
話しかしてない。
まあどういうお話かというとですね、
はい、
まあちょっとネタバレ
Tataru's grand endeavor、
はい、まあ 6.0 の終盤、まあ世界中の人の協力
Hey, good to have you.
選手の皆さんが
Sorry you had to call out sick, but glad you're here.
集まってきてくれた人たちっていうのがあったと思うんですけど、
Tataru is the new main foe of 7.0 in the next 10 years. You know it.
お話になっているので、結構サイドこれまでのアライアンス
My favorite verses I've ever seen is Tataru versus Rowena.
結構紐づいてるやつだったりするので、まあつどつどそのパッチでどんどん進んでいくんで、パッチのたびに受注条件とかはちゃんと出していくので、今のうちからやってないサイドストーリーとかあるのであればやっといていただいた方がより。
He's kind of talking just about side story. Oh yeah, Yoshi-P. In the end of 6.0, we had everyone gather, and the Warrior of Light had saved and helped throughout their adventures. So this side quest line will somewhat focus on showing them appreciation, throwing the appreciation for showing up in the end to support us. So it's basically us connecting with all the different friends that we made along the way.
新たなロールクエストということでですね。
Oh, that made me laugh pretty good.
編のロールクエストをすべてコンプリートしていると解放されるエクストラとして、ロールクエストが
Tataru was Kel'Thuzad all along.
楽しみな方も多そうですね。
Yeah, we should be seeing Hildebrand in 6.1, I would think. I don't know that, but I would think. Oh, okay. I think they're talking about continuations of the role quests if you finish all of them. So far, the intro was releasing the name. What is it? Newfound Adventure. That's the main thing. Yes, we're definitely 100% getting Hildebrand in 6.x. It's just a question of when they're releasing it. Yeah, I believe they're talking about this as being a continuation for if you finish all the role quests.
新たな有効部族クエストが 6.15 でこちら
Hey, Archosodra are first! And they are the battle jobs. Okay. Yes, I think that is correct, Zalaran, though they didn't translate it, and that was just me translating, so I could have misunderstood. But that is what I am understanding that they said based on what I caught.
公式にはちょっと先行支援にはなるんですけど、有効部族クエスト、日本語はね、っていう言い方をしていこうと思ってます。ただですね、
Oh, yep, no, okay, I found it. An additional role quest that you unlock when finishing the ones in Drew 6.0. So it is like the Anukel High one. Yep.
いろんなところに UI とかで、キャラのセリフ
Stepchild and What's in a Parent. Ooh, I just did those recently-ish.
時代進行というか、
Oh, Beast Tribe quests are being renamed to Tribal quests from patch 6.2 onwards.
首相が蛮族って呼ぶ
Aha, my video on the fundamental lie behind the notion of a beast tribe is now becoming more relevant. Oh, in other news, I'm on last melee DPS to get to 90. Trusty Naruto class. Hell yeah. I wish I'd had more time to get to Omni 90, but I haven't had a lot of time to play Final Fantasy 14, ironically. Maybe we should do more live streams of actually playing the game to rationalize actually getting to playing it. Okay, they're talking about names in Japanese versus English, and also I think about changing tribal quest name from Beast Tribe to Tribal Quests.
僕らがよく企画で使ってる資料とか、資料上ももう蛮族クエストとか呼ぶのやめようって話をしたので、 まあ言い間違えることがもしかしたらあるかもしれないんですけど、変えていこうと思ってますので、はい、よろしくお願いします。
皆さんもよろしくお願いします。
はい。というわけで、まあ、バトルクラスであるか。
Yeah, and it's been a whole thing that they've been working towards explaining and clarifying and making a part of the lore over the past since Stormblood, really, and that the notional lie of what it even means to be a Beast Tribe. Yoshi P, we're renaming the Beast Tribe quest into Tribal Quest in 6.2. We didn't make it in time with all the UI elements for 6.1, but given how we're treating these tribes in game, it would feel wrong going forward calling them Beast Tribes. Which, if you have not watched our video on, I forget what it's called, but I have a video on this that I would recommend checking out. Like, it really goes over the history of the term Beast Tribe and how it's the entire notion is founded in a lie and racism. I leveled all classes to 90 in time for Elden Ring and now hate being a healer. The amount of tanks that I don't mitigate where I heal you, Zalorand. I can't not play tank at 90 at this point. I have to like level people out in different things. Oh, there we go. Hildebrand Adventures 6.15, same time as the Beast Tribes or Tribal Quests.
ですね、新たな事件やクエストがこちらも 6.15 から、スタートとなります。で実はですね、まあこれまでなんかこう
We had a lot of requests for this from around the world, so he's finally coming back. New Hildebrand Adventures coming in 6.15.
なんかこう争点違うな。ヒルディブランド外伝争点編みたいな。で以降ずっとね外伝でしてたんですけど、
あ、そうか。
なんか今後もやっていくんなら、もうなんか新たな
Yeah, tanking situations can be rough.
まあ一番最初は事件やヒルディブランドでいいと思う。はい。なんかこう連続
There will be more details on the Hildebrand stuff during the next producer live letter.
それちょっとね次の PLL でお伝えできると思う。
Gentlemen extraordinaire.
はい。こちらもスクリーンショットございます。こちらです。
そうでしょ。
いやだって。
An additional note on Beast Tribe quests, the naming for those quests will be flagged as in if you're still around pre-Umwalker, it'll still be called Beast Tribe quests because of the situation and mindset around the time. But naming for Beast Tribes will be changed to Tribal quests because of the change of mindset and purpose. So essentially, it's not just the devs changing it, it is a in-world change around the notion and mentality of Beast Tribes. Of that being a notion. So it's an in-lore change. It only will happen post-Endwalker. Oh, I got my Black Panther last night. Nice, congrats. Crap, I didn't realize this was live. I'll have to... Oh, my eyes! Wonder where we'll find him. Looks like it takes place in the first. Yeah, based on that purple... Well, that could also be parts of Mordona. No. Yeah, that's weird. It does kind of look like the first.
正直実はね結構嬉しいなと思ったことがあって、すごくリワードがね、いいわけじゃないんですよ、ヒルディブランドって。なんかすごい武器もらえるとか、ね、すごい称号が手に入るとか。
I wonder what kind of incidents and events he'll be involved in this time, and how much the dev team let out their humor during cutscenes. Hildebrand cutscenes are very heavy on our budget. Yeah, it does look, it is, the purple makes it pretty clear it's Lakeland, but how did he would have crossed the barrier? That's what from a lore perspective, I'm trying to figure out how that would happen, because like it made some sense during the Hero's Gauntlet. Oh god, Hildebrand interacting with Gaia in a mystery. It's like pixelation, pixel matter, just not he and pixel. Foxconn. We got asked a lot during the 6.0 interviews, especially by overseas media when Hildebrand is coming back. Maybe it'll be a mix where we travel between the first and the source with Hildebrand. Yeah. But how did would he have still ended up in the first? What's weird. Yoshi P, I feel like I was asked about him at every opportunity. You heard it, guys. The Western media would not stop asking about Hildebrand. Yeah, Gilgamesh had the whole thing with them all supposedly going to another world and them all getting sucked into a portal at the end of Stormblood. Yeah. They'll make it work. They'll make it work. It's just, I don't know how they'll make it. First travel coming in lore. First travel will come into the lore eventually, but it's going to be a major event. It's going to be tied to Y'shtola. It's also going to matter because it's going to be how we get to the 13th and the other shards. It's just going to, I would be utterly shocked if it was with Hildebrand first and any time before 8.0, because I think shards are not going to be a story for a while yet, because they want to do be terrestrial for a bit. He was sent across dimensions at the end of Stormwar Quest, so it could be.
6.0 クリアした人のまあボーナスクエストみたいな
Omega Beyond the Rift patch 6.1x
まあこれは書いておきましょうということです。
Once you clear the Omega Raid story and play through the Ultima Thule story for 6.0, we felt like we could add a quest that clarifies a little more on the connections made there. Yeah, so that's awesome. We're going to get some quests about the stories with the Omicrons. I always say Omnicrons, but it's Omicrons, right? And... Or is...
そしてですね、さらにちょっとストーリー系あるんですけど、前回のプロデュ
Yeah, 7.0 is going to be Mericidia or New World or both, or it's going to be all terrestrial. There's just no way it's not.
コンテンツサポートという機能、今までフェイスって呼んでたやつですね。
By the way, thanks for all being here. I'll be honest, I thought I was going to pop on at 5 a.m. and it was going to be dead, and no one was going to join in, so glad to have all you here. I previously mentioned we make improvements to a Realm Reborn quests. Okay, they're the Omnicrons. Okay.
今日の後半で、詳しくご説明させていただこうと思います。そしてですね、コンテンツに行きますが、
It did not help that they were named at the same time that we were going through the Corona variant. Okay, so we're getting new dungeons. We know Praetorium, Cape Westwind, and Castrum are all changing. That's for sure.
名前を出せば妄想がはかどるっていうところももちろんあるんですけど。
I don't think it's just gonna be trims. What they're doing is doing some major reworks to make it so that the trust system actually functions and will work in a room. But there are some. I think the problem is less about trims. I think it's kind of more about at this point. It's really much more about reformatting some things, and also what would really help is more voice acting, frankly. Oh yeah, I agree, Hydra. I think it's almost certain that we're only getting one of them. I just pose that it's possible because of the way Yoshi-P constantly tries to surprise people. But I think you're right. I definitely think it's only going to be one or the other. Well, greetings from across the seas then. A new trial, the End Singer's Aria, will be the extreme version of the last trial from 6.0, which is going to be amazing. There's going to be a new story dungeon, but they're not saying the name because it might give away way too much. Console, hey, that guy. So console works totally fine. The only limitations I have ever found talking to people with console come from the fact that at the highest of high ends, you might be a little less efficient. But I have not played controller a bunch, but I have only heard good things from other people, and it runs pretty well. I would say feel absolutely free to go ahead and start on console if that's your only option, and don't stress it. I personally prefer it on PC, having only played a little bit of it on console. But it was designed and created with console in mind, so that the controller setup for that is real good. So I would say just, if that's your only option, get started, and there won't be a real need to worry about the difference between controller or keyboard and mouse until you really get to the end of Endwalker or maybe Shadowbringer. So I think you'll be just fine.
結構苦手な人には苦手系かも。
吉田さん的にはあれですか、好きな方、嫌いな方、得意な方。
Yeah, see, Hydra's cleared plenty of savages. You can clear high-end content. No problem. Okay, we're done with adjustments already, and I have cleared it, but it was very difficult. We didn't want to make it too easy, and of course I want to respect the developer's feelings, so in the end we didn't tune it down too much. One totem would not be enough though, so you're getting multiple when clearing. He didn't specify, but assume around 2 based on his language. So the new trial is going to be a doozy, and we're going to get more than 1 totem for clearing. Which it should be a doozy because, man, is it a really cool trial, and it should be a challenge.
まあ最初のうちはちょっと頭がこんがらがるかもなっていう気がします。まあ楽しかったですよでも。
楽しみですね。
楽しかったです。
Yeah, Hydra and everyone seems to be pretty. The broad consensus is that you're just fine to do it
そ
with
してですね
console.
続いて新たな現透滅戦
And that has been, as someone who doesn't have a ton of hands-on experience, that has been my understanding for years at this point.
90としてコンテンツとして実装と
New Unreal Trial, Ultima's Bane Unreal, which I think there was an Ultima trial before, but that was for 80 or 70, and so now they're adjusting it up to 90, so it's actually going to be readjusted from where it was the last time they did Unreal. I love Final Days so much too, Hydra. Yes, I'm a massive leitmotif person too. I was just talking about this with another content creator. I could wax lackadaisically about the way in which 14 uses leitmotifs and motifs.
昔の攻略方法をぜひ思い出して
復習して
改めていただければ良いかなと思います。
そうか、予習しておきたい方はそう極手間に行っていただいて。
そうですね。
The new Unreal trial will be Ultima's Bane as previously mentioned as well. If you want to prepare, you can already do that in the old version of Ultima. So apparently the old version of Ultima might not be a bad way to practice for the new version. I mean, obviously you want to do syncs so you can kind of actually learn the mechanics.
そしてですね、さらにバトルコンテンツ、新たな
New Alliance raids, Myth of the Realm number 1.
エオルゼアの第一弾が実装となります。来ました。
See, I appreciate Bravely. I just haven't been into sort of that traditional ass JRPGs in a while. Bravely, I have no problems with Bravely, but I do absolutely appreciate that. But the way in which Final Fantasy games in general use leitmotifs is just phenomenal. For all 13 has flaws, 13 is banging on its music front, and it does that as well. Yes, leitmotifs are my favorite musical tool, and it's insane to me that they are not more commonly used. I mean, I go to the easiest explanation I find is using leitmotifs. Me too, Tracy. I'm so excited for Myth of the Realm. Oh, look at that. I wonder if it's supposed to be one of the heavens.
もっとわかりやすいねスクリーンショットもね候補としてもらったんですけど、わかりやすすぎだろう。
We're finally going to begin investigating the secrets of the 12 gods in Eorzea. So, I mean, all of it, we could have guessed that.
さあ、というわけで久々の新アライアンスレイドシリーズですね。堂々スタートとなりますので、こちらもですね、ご期待いただきたい。
はい、ぜひご期待ください。
Yeah, we should be getting some pictures with stuff. Yeah, new catch-up gear, let's go! I'm gonna be fascinated to see where they go with Myth of the Realm. We'll make sure to cover information about it and lore about it sooner rather than later. Yeah, Patrick, I don't know if we'll be killing the gods, but I do know we're gonna be doing, each boss is probably gonna be in some way tied to one of the 12s. Is that Halone's Halls? No, because Halone's Halls would be more likely within ice. They wouldn't be like that, but it's possible. It also could be reinterpretations of all of it. I mean, I'm basing that off of the creation tales, but that's, you know, we don't know how much of that is in any way meaningful. Undertale is praised as the best game soundtrack of all time, and it's like 2 or 3 leitmotifs. Yeah. You can go far with leitmotifs. I mean, look at the expansions for Final Fantasy XIV. Half the time, 80% of the music is 3 themes in different variants. Hey, Zeph! Good to see you! I think we can dye them like in the Nier raid? Probably. A lot of Alamegan Griffins. Yeah, we could wonder if maybe that it's actually Ralger's palace, and because of Ralger's tied to Alamigo and the Griffin, and, you know, there's a bunch of different ways, and the purple, and lightning. We could theorize that this might actually be tied to Ralger. Aw, thanks. I'm glad you'll wait for the lore videos. Dragon Song Ultimate, aka Sweaty Legends. Everything up until the end of 3.3 compressed into one fight. So it's Heaven's Word on all the way to 3.3. Oh no! It's Trace Velgar with a neural link. Oh, so we're gonna have to face Trace Velgar too, not just Nidhogg. Oh no! They reference the idea of what would happen if Ishgard got its hands on neural links in the Binding Coils of Bahamut, and this is not good.
わかるよ。どうしてこうなった。
まあ 今回はですね、またちょっとこれまでの絶レイドとは違った
It's going to be different from previous Ultimate raids, but what that means is left very vague. You can tell, so like the thing around his neck is a neural link, and it's the same thing that Twintanya has, or the boss from Binding Coils or the mount that you can get from having friends, which is the only reason I have friends. Oh, Mr. Ozma designed this fight. He's one of their raid and encounter designers. And he's called Mr. Ozma partly because of designing Ozma. Good thing that wasn't canon, or else we'd get more hurt in the fields there. Yeah, definitely. He said he worked on a lot of content so far, and that he put his all into this one, referring to the Ultimate Raid.
やべえ感じしかしない。
ちょっと難易度については、
I think he's talking about the Ultimate Raid. The Ultimate Raids aren't canon; they're just stories told by the Wandering Minstrel. I mean, they are canon; they're just stories. They're legends of what happened rather than what actually happened.
まあ、よう作ったなっていう。来週かな、8人の。
ついにテストが。
そうですね、僕の最終投資チェック行くんですけど。はい。
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Ozma is the nickname of Masaki Nakagawa, the battle content director of Final Fantasy XIV. Yeah.
ごとの確認をやってる時にもうすでにさ、ちょっと顔が引きつる感じなんだけど。
ああってことですね。
なので、まあちょっと。
He put his all into the Ultimate Raid. I wonder how the Endwalker version will be. The Ultimate for Endwalker, I keep thinking about and thinking about how insane, absolutely insane it's going to be. We're probably going to see a fully powered up Zodiark. We might even see like a version of the fight that just literally looks like the Amano art. Yeah, I love the Heaven's Word music too. Personally, I love Shadowbringers and Endwalkers more, but Heaven's Word just slaps. And I love the use of it as a leitmotif and theme throughout Endwalker. Now on to some job adjustments. Hey, we're gonna get that dark stuff after all. I wouldn't assume it would be fused with. I would think it'd more just be like we'd fight them in sequence. Maybe like Zodiark and Hydaelyn fused and then fighting the Endsinger after. It's difficult to make big changes since there's an ultimate. So the changes are going to be more incremental, it seems like. Because they don't want to do major changes right before the ultimate. I cannot wait until the Omega Ultimate as well. The fact that we're getting this expansion, it's going to be crazy. We're going to see a fight with Omega and Shinryu. But the details we'll talk about in the next... it's difficult to make big changes since there's an ultimate, but the details we'll talk about in the next producer live letter. So I guess we'll see some adjustments, but not all the adjustments here. Oh no, we're not even. We're just gonna get the adjustments next. They teased us. They baited us, guys. Shadowbringers Ultimate is going to be Pog. Yep. PvP updates, patch 6.1. Crystal Conflict. Look, I know I might be like the only person, but I am so excited for these PvP changes and to do Crystal Conflict. I want to get a static together of 4 other people and have like a static to do Crystal Conflict with because it's very exciting. I know, guys. I'm sorry. Look, they're the one who put it up. They're the one who baited us. Don't shoot the messenger. More on the reward system, the UI changes, and PvP changes in the next producer live letter as well. Part of it is I'm just really excited how they're changing up the reward structure and system that's going to really incentivize people to play even a little bit, even if they don't want to a ton. And so it's just going to be a lot better, even if you're not super into PvP. Because historically, I haven't been super into PvP, but I've gotten a little bit more into it in 14, and their changes that are coming up are going to really help everyone. New custom deliveries in 6.15 is going to be with Emilians, which is going to be exciting. Yeah, at least they're trying to do the work to resurrect PvP, and I think they're doing it the right way.
これ
For
なん
sure.
か予想以上にうわーってなってちょっとびっくり
先日来ざわついておりますね。界隈が。
まあちょっとスクリーンショット。
Yeah, I do frontline for XP too. If you just relinquish any ability to control the situation and achieve victory through your effort, frontline's actually kind of fun. That's a terrible way to like say it's kind of fun, but it can be okay. But that's why I'm excited for Crystal Conflict, because it's going to be actually, you know, a little bit more control. What's your opinion on the reading of Xenos' character as a player who's heavy into RP? So I actually just talked to, I have an interview with Popo Jagaimo coming out, and we talked about this. I am very much a big fan of Xenos' character, and I have waxed lackadaisically about the ways in which I think he's sometimes, the ways in which, when he's treated as two-dimensional, I think it's a misunderstanding of the way in which he is a classically tragic figure. And I that guy, I'll be happy to talk about that more elsewhere. It would take up an hour, you know, 15 minutes to an hour of my time to go over all my feelings. At 89, I'm getting like 4 million XP. Yeah. A new custom delivery, Emiliance, the twins' mother. We had comments asking, didn't she spend all her money on us? So in case you missed it, she was the ones kind of funding the scions behind the zine. I mean, I don't know. I don't really agree with that, Patrick. I think Xenos has been very consistent. I think the question... Yeah. Again, that's an entire discussion in and of itself. I would love to talk about it, but we've got too much we've got to focus on with here. Emiliance with the drip. Yeah, he will. I'm currently in the process of working on lore videos for every character and kind of analysis videos on every character, but there's just so much content I'm working on in the middle of. I can't tell you exactly when they'll come out. I will say that me and Naniri have talked about this during End Talkers, so that will come up repeatedly as we go through End Talkers, so you'll definitely have our feelings on characters like Fortunal, Xenos, and people like that. って感じなんですけど、これが前に言ってたキャラクターカードって言ってたものの正式名称がアドベンチャー Talking about the new profile display features. で、まあ新しいプロフィール紹介機能ですね。本当にSo a new thing you can collect for your character calling card. ポートレートといろんなカスタマイズができるってちょっと進めてくれるかしら。We will also add the new character profile features to show and introduce your Warrior of Light, adventure plates, or calling cards. Oh, they're previously called calling cards. They're basically customizable character portraits. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. I appreciate your interest and your support. Like, sincerely. Just. The calling cards. I just need to figure out why I'm hearing stuff about some thieves with it. Not sure I understand. I mean, I'm really excited for it. So the thing is that the calling cards are an expression system, and a lot of players, especially in the RP community and glamour communities, really love ways to express their character. So this is an extension of that. It may not necessarily serve a lot of people who are into the combat or exclusively the story, but I absolutely understand that this appeals to a wide swath of the 14 community. I do think this is very much in the lieu of quite a big slice of the community. Originally, I wanted to show you today what you could do with these features, but they all looked like they weren't finished. You can customize so much, but we can't show you this today. What day is today? The 4th? I'm not sure if we can finish it until mid-April. Yeah, and the thing I'll say is that it's very easy to see a lot of systems around 14 as like, who needs this? But a lot of them add little pieces of flavor and interest and things to collect and enjoy that allows for a wide swath of players to have many different things to do that are entertaining and engaging. Even if they aren't for someone who really likes ultimates or combat, or even as someone who is more in that lieu, I kind of enjoy collecting stuff like this. I wonder if they're planning for any crossover events, maybe with the new Square games. So they've stated they're really trying to avoid crossover events for the time being. They really want to focus on just 14 stuff. That doesn't mean we won't get them in the future, and we'll still probably get holiday events, but they're kind of trying to put that on the back plate. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something sooner rather than later. Just definitely not like a raid crossover or anything like that. I mean, of course, especially with Myths of the Realm. Custom trusts, maybe, yeah. You can set adventure plates to your gear set. You can have a gear set to which you assign a glam plate, and additionally, you can assign an adventure plate. So your introduction can be different for every job. So if you like want to make your your adventure plate, you know, for your ninja, a Naruto reference, but then you want to make it for your dragoon, make it like Kane Highwind. You know, you could. Sakaguchi collab event when. I wouldn't be surprised. Tataru again.
そしてですね、文字だらけだったんでちょっとスクショ1枚持ってきました。
So they're going to talk, I think, about the side quests. Oh no!
タタタルかよ。
The unending codex. Tataru Taru.
これは
こちらはですね、パワポまだ進めなくていいんですけど、愛用の見聞録という新しいUI システムを1個。
Interesting. There's a new UI system. You can set adventure play to target the new UI system called the Unending Codex. So what is it?
じゃあちょっとパワーポイント進めていただいて。
The Unending Codex is
6.0 までの人物とか用語を振り返る
glossaries of characters and terms up through patch 6.0. Yeah, this is going to be useful for people who could use that. Like, who was that character? What did I do with them? Kind of like a bio book about the characters from Final Fantasy 14. Yep. Seems like it.
どうぞ。6.1 のメインクエスト中に大事なものに追加されます。
Yeah, unlocked in the main scenario of patch 6.1 and added to your collection with new entries added as the story unfolds. Maybe it's only starting with 6.1 onwards, however, I wouldn't be surprised if they started adding it retroactively. All characters and terms will not be immediately available. Yeah, I think they're going to be added, they're going to be making trying to add it retroactively. There might be good lore bits in here, and even if not, if you've just forgotten what happened in the story, it might be a useful refresher. Would imply it's a character profile. There it is. Yeah. The amount of times I've started writing something Hydra just to have it covered, I feel you. Yeah, it's definitely going to be handy for lore people. And I'm really hopeful for that for people like who take a break and then come back if they need a reminder. Especially for someone who like might have had trouble getting through Realm Reborn and doesn't remember it very clearly, but then by the time they get to Shadowbringers or Endwalkers super into the game, but can't remember what happened in Realm Reborn very clearly.
なので、その読むことによって、なるほどこれまでにこういう冒険とかこういう出会いがあってこの人はこういう人だから。
Yeah, let's hope that it's like fishing, where for some reason a lot of key lore is hidden in fishing.
なるほど。
A glossary so you can keep up with characters and terms that we've introduced so far in the story. New entries will be added when you progress further in the story. It won't be in time with the implementation of every friend's patch, but we'll keep updating it.
っていうことを考えたときに用意していきたいなって思ったので、なんだ、エスケープボタンを押してシナリオスキップする人はいいんです。 ご自身の意思で多分スキップされてるんで、それの是非はね、別に
Fishing lore is pog. Like there's so much key lore that is like wrapped up in things that you can only find in fishing. Me and Neri talk about it all the time. It's really funny. Not key lore. Like you don't need it to understand like anything with the story, but like little tidbits of like really esoteric stuff. Ah, fishing lore. Therefore, try character lore. I see someone's been playing Elden Ring. 14 can be pretpretty confusing and difficult, and you might want to look back to things at some point. Who was that again, and what did they do? Like I was getting at, that's exactly what I was getting at earlier.
まあそういうことをやっていきますよと。はい。いう感じ。
これが 6.1 で登場。
6.1 か。1のメインクエストやってれば自然にこれはね本当ねなんかコンテンツ行って集めてくださいとかじゃないです。はい。もう純粋な読み物として。
I've been playing too much Elden Ring as a show. Yeah, I just hit credits at 80 hours like a day ago, and finally have been able to get back to work. So I feel you. In 6.8, we'll get DC travel. So that's coming up and technically within patch 1.x. Or 6.1x. You caught the secret of the universe. Finally, we'll get to be able to play cross data center. Also like to talk about world regrouping for the JP data centers later. So the JP data centers are basically being shuffled a little bit. I think I'm in the last zone of Elden, so I'm trying to do all the secondary stuff I can. Yeah. I would say I pretty much 90% completed the game. I completed all the optional bosses and everything in Elden Ring, but that game is enormous. Jesus. There are too many smaller updates, so just a few of them listed here. When do you think they'll redo the whole leveling experience? The barrier to entry is extreme. It's hundreds of hours, and if you skip story, it's more than 90 hours just to get it. If you... Well, I mean, if you skip story, I feel like you fundamentally kind of miss the point of, like, literally the entire thing is about the journey, not the destination. As for when, that's a... There's different ways they can go about it. I have differing feelings depending on the day. The answer I think in short is I don't necessarily know when. I would think 7.0 is when we would see that if we were going to see that, seeing as we're going back to being an adventure. And then releasing a new game plus, but for if people want to go back. But you know, there's a bunch of different ways to kind of go at it. I get the point, but a lot of quests I don't necessarily know I agree with quests being filler. I would kind of disagree that because my sentiment is that part of the point is experiencing the journey, and a lot of the quests are tied to characters that then become more relevant later. There are too many smaller updates, so just a few. New game plus will be updated for the entire 6.0 patch and at some portion of 6.1. New hairstyles for Hrothgar will keep adding more upcoming patches. It only states Hrothgar, but Viera will get new hairstyles as well. I will also talk about the world regrouping for JPDC data centers. There are too many. We are getting more glamour plates, confirmed. And a lot of quests are filler, even this. I'm not sure which filler quests you're referring to for that one. It's hard because I think there is a genuine merit to saying, hey, maybe it's best to experience the story. I also think it's really rough if you introduce 7.0 content that people are started out as, but 7.0 is designed around the players having an understanding of mechanics that have been introduced to you up to that point. You need to find a way to onboard everyone. So I just replayed A Realm Reborn, and most of this, they already just cut a bunch of the stuff, and most of what they cut, most of what's still there, almost all of it has come back up in other quests that are going to be relevant, including, like, you could say, like, oh, why not cut everything with Costa del Sol? But except for understanding the Company of Heroes is really important to 1.0, and understanding who the Company of Heroes are, and that's clearly currently being set up to be used in New World. So... Sure. The question is how much energy do you spend towards doing that versus creating new content, because it's always a cost for the dev team, a cost balance situation. I'm still sad they cut the self-doppelganger quest, though. Isn't that optional now? Like, did they actually fully remove that? I don't know I fully agree. I think you could make arguments that there's ways you can fine-tune it to make it even faster. I don't know that I think you risk with going through things with too much rapidity. I do think it should. I do think it needs to be reworked. I've been someone who's advocated that A Realm Reborn still doesn't flow great. I'm not against your point. I'm loath to say the answer is just to keep truncating and truncating and truncating, or because it becomes a point where then you create situations that don't really make sense or you have connection to. And while we might be fine with it, that doesn't necessarily mean it works for everybody else. Yeah, there's been no translations yet, but basically they're just talking about new UI stuff.
つなぐのいまいち好きじゃないんですよ。
ああ、なるほど。
まあもちろんね、こういう意欲が向上するとか、その売り上げを考えたら入れた方がいいんじゃないとか、なんだったらもうこっから買えるようにしよう。
Yeah, that's gonna be huge for a lot of people to like actively be able to see mock station items on their characters and how they might fit and look.
ただやっぱりまあ。アイテムも増えてきて、
そうですね。
実際自分のキャラクターが来た時どうなんだってやっぱりおしゃれでは
I
ある
mean,
から。
my friends, I've had a partner who just started playing and reached Endwalker in a month without no lifing it. So I don't know it's that long in terms of like it's not months of playing. I also think it gets good even by this A Realm Reborn patch content. So I'm not. As for playing with me, like I've enjoyed the process of leveling or helping out or going through the story with friends and stuff as they've started playing. In terms of like if you mean specifically end game content, you know, as the only metric of playing together. Which I'm assuming that's not what you're saying. I don't mean to put words in your mouth. Realm Reborn are having a lot of important stuff, to be honest, that just can't get trimmed. Yeah, so much of Realm Reborn ends up becoming interwoven into Heaven's Word, Stormblood, and again, that's not to say that it couldn't be fine. Like they're redoing Castrum and Praetorium, right, which are both not great in terms of their flow to play or any of that. So I don't think it's the slog, quite the same slog, especially when there's so much good and fun to play in the meantime. I appreciate the point, and I'd love to talk to you more about it, Patrick. I take your point in stride, and I don't necessarily. It's not like I fully disagree with you. I personally don't really want to implement this feature. I know there are players who go as far as saying, let me buy them in game. It makes sense for a business perspective, but I'm skeptical. This feature is only accessible in INN when you're interacting with the bed in your inns. That's why it's called dream fitting. So you basically go into your oh my god, in room, and you'll be able to try on this. And I think what Yoshi's getting at here is that he's very loath to make it super easy for there to be like buying stuff in game. Like he doesn't want there to be like pop-up ads saying like, oh, come get our premium stuff and all that sort of everything. The idle animation for parasols will be updated. It looks too stiff sometimes. So I know quite a few RP people who are going to be happy about that.
ください。でなんか今後またなんだろうさらにこうねまだいつちょっと実現できるかわかんないですけど、今日とかも天候が雨に変わったら自動的にこう設定しておいたら傘を差すモーションにできないかとかいうのを検討してるって言ってました。へえ、いろいろ。
Did he say what I think he just said something about rains falling through the umbrellas.
まあ傘持ってるわけですね。
持ってるわけです。
Talking about Ame and Casa, which are umbrella and rain and umbrella, respectively.
まあバトル中はね勝手に刺されたら困るよね。そんなお前雨の心配目の前のモンスターのこと考えるよって話になっちゃうんで、ちょっとまあいろいろ条件とか難しいとは思いますけど、そういうこうやっぱりこう14の世界に住んでいる感覚っていうところをまあ本当に細かい優先に難しいから見合うかって言われたらそうじゃないのかもしれないんですけど、まあ豊かになる、暮らしが豊かになるっていう意味ではすごくいいアイデアだなと思っていたので、はい。
じゃあそんな将来にも期待しつつ、
そうですね。
まずは新たな大気モーションをお楽しみください。
で続いてはですね、非常にこちらも喜んでいただけるんじゃないかなと思うん
Checkmark
ですけど、
displayed on items used to
習得
obtain
登録
minions.
済みのミニオン
Oh,
とか
hell yes!
チェックマークが
Oh yes, thank you as a completionist. Oh,
これはあ
thank
りがたい。
なります。
the 12.
そしてですね、
Oh, that's
チェック
I
マー
know
クが
I
つ
know
いて
there
る
are so
こと
many
は
people who
ですね、
don't give a flying
マーケ
crap
ット
about
で
that,
も
but
絞
this
り
is
込める
that
の
is
ではないかと
oh so nice for me.
いうことです。
Improved market search for items used to obtain minions and
なん
mounts.
かわかんねえよって言っても、こうマーケット見ては自分の
So now if you want to complete your collections, it's going to be a lot clearer.
こちらスクリーンショットございます。
これは。
まあリストにもチェックマークついてますし。
It's beautiful.
It's
so beautiful.
詳細、アイテム詳細の方にもチェックマーク出るんで、これ
So they're adding a system by which they're adding check marks to any mount or minion you already have. Which will make it so if, let's say, you want to go buy mounts off the market board, you don't have to worry about, like, do I have that one? Do I not have that one? And have to go check, especially with how many minions there are. So if you just want to go, you know, or if you have a minion in your inventory, usually people just have to right-click, use. Oh, they already have it. There's actually been a pet peeve of mine as someone trying to buy all the market board minions. Yep, I hear you, Hydra. I've avoided it up until now just because I haven't wanted to bother. Also, I didn't have the time to collect all the
会
minions.
社で PC でやったら内容が違うっていうことじゃなくて、サーバーでチェックをしてるので、結構正確にやられてるんじゃないかなと思ってます。
ありがたや。
まあこれ以外にもですね、
And now there is a specific category for mounts and minions in the market board.
ギャザクラ周りの利便性向上だったり、まあそこちょっとまた次回ね細かくお伝えできれば、まあ実機があればね。
はい。
Oh, you didn't know you could buy mounts from that? Yeah, not all mounts, but many, many mounts you can buy on the market
ご紹
board.
介したいなと思ってます。
はい。といったところで、前半戦はこんなところですね。
Yes.
で、
The minions,
この後
some minions are no
休憩
longer
挟みまして
available, which is
後半はい
sad.
くつかの項目、先ほどお伝えしました。ちょっと詳しくやる
Okay,
といった
so that's for the first half. So it's taking a short break, and then they'll talk about a few things in more detail during the second half.
休憩です。
そうね、なんかさ、ほんと11ヶ月ぶりの何なんかこの
Yoshi, oh, already? That was really quick, but it's already been an hour. Holy crap, really?
そうですね。
Wow.
はいはい。
I went by fast.
若干コメントでもあれもう休憩っていう感じ
いいじゃないですか。
The island sanctuary is 6.2 is when it's being released, so they probably won't talk about that until the 6.2 live letter. We might get a reference to it here, but the thing is, this is 6.1 focused. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't hear about it.
だってコメントがだって休憩できんのかよって言ってるよ。
いい指摘ですね。過去を振り返りますと、休憩といえばお供。で、お供といえば、お供には何を流してきたかと言いますと、まあその時々でご紹介している新しいね、
We've always had a video show during the breaks, event videos, and similar
直近であった
things.
イベントの
Says FFXIV.
ビデオでイベントの時に何か作ったんでこれをとかいうのをご覧いただいたんですけど、最近イベントごとがない。
そうね。ないないない。
で、つい最近も PLL があったこともあり、
サントラも出ちゃったでしょ。
出ちゃったので今はねこれザ・ハザ会議ってやつで。
But today we don't have anything. But don't give up, of course.
みんなので
待って待ってと。我々の歩
Are
み
they
は
doing a
11
comedic
年
bit and they're
分
going
もあ
to
れ
show
ば
something really cool?
多くの皆さんが見てない
I'm still curious on what that is. Same with whatever the gold saucer stuff is. But as my schedule for games is packed with Elden Ring trial strat, it's basically what we know is going to be slow life style content. And what I would say is it's going to be very light Stardew Valley Harvest Moon early game style stuff where it's going to be just planting. It's just going to be like simple farming and like a simple island sort of thing. I would have low expectations going in. And it's something that they're definitely going to build on over time. What's the name of the person next to Yoshi? I always forget. Foxconn is what the community knows him as. I totally forget his actual name. You might want to check that up. Today we don't have. So today we're showing a video from 2017 from the Yokohama projection mapping. Ooh, exciting. Is it me or does Yoshi P look like he finally got some sleep? I think you're right. As tired as he looks, he definitely looks like he got more sleep than the last time we saw him or any time during 6.0. I totally agree. Animal Crossing New Horizons demo level. Yeah, I would just say assume a very simplistic sort of farming simulator, small house, you know, small like homestead sort of owned thing. It may be a little bit more than that, but but Yoshi P has tried to temper people's expectation for its release. I would also assume though that it is something that they're going to build up over time. So you guys, so they're going to be off for 15 minutes, but they've got this interesting video to show us on the Yokohama projection mapping. Such a random things to choose to show off. However, it's so pretty, I don't care. Ooh! A watchword clock, that makes me think of To the Edge, but that's 2017, so there's no way. Oh. Hey, FF10, my favorite single player Final Fantasy. Yeah, I think it's kind of a celebration of past, just Final Fantasy in general. Same version of Prelude I use for our channel intro. So Yoshi P recently stated that he's going to try to work towards removing the online part of Final Fantasy XIV Online in a world in which online games are kind of just the norm already. I still need to play 12 and 11. Finally got 12 for Christmas. Nice! 12's really good, and the Zodiac Age, well, 12 has some problems. Zodiac Age improves and solves a lot of problems, but it's a good time. 11, I need to play more of 11 so I can talk about it, and someday make content explaining what from 11 ended up in 14. Counting down to Strangers in Paradise Origin stuff. No, this is from 2017. My favorite has to be 6 with 9 followed right after. Shockingly, do not like 7 or 4 much. I like 4. 4 was my first classic 2D one. 7 struggles the most with its technical limitations and from whence it was made. Oh, that's really cool. It's Japan in the style of the Eorzean map, or Hydaelyn map. However, I do love 6 and 9. I mean, I love all the Final Fantasy games, really. I mean, there's not one of them that I don't like in terms of the mainline ones. There's a couple I don't like in terms of the spin-offs. I feel bad for the people in those buildings windows. They definitely got agreements and, like, made deals with people ahead of time. Paladin. Nalbert. It's funny, these different characters, you can tell they were mocapped, but they didn't necessarily post-edit the mocaps, because like you can see the way they kind of move more organically. It's very interesting. Maybe I'm wrong. My first was 3DS. Suddenly easy to see how I fell in love with Asano's style for chibi and gameplay. Yeah. All of them have different strengths too, so it's no surprise that saying like, oh, there's a best one is silly notion. It's which ones ended up speaking to you and why are, I think, the most interesting questions. love it. It's all the different styles of airship throughout the years. Ah, yes. Stairs. Riveting! But yeah, if you guys have a favorite Final Fantasy or strong feelings about a particular one, feel free to share them. I love reading people's why different ones speak to different people. I know Naniri really loves 9, for instance. And sometimes it's also just about when you play them in life, too. Stairs! Not gonna lie, that was a terrifying fat chocobo. I hate Type 0. Type 0 is one of the few ones that I'm like, you forgot to tell a story, and the story you did told was not very good. I like 8. I like 8 a lot, but I think 8 is deeply flawed in a lot of ways. But I think there's a lot that's interesting about 8 that's more meaningful. There's people who love both, and I genuinely can't say that they're wrong. Just say that why I didn't like them. Yeah, comparing and contrasting and talking points is all you can do because you can't argue for taste. You can articulate why something might have failed structurally, why mechanically it just is rough. Not to say that other people can't enjoy it, but there's just not... Yeah, I really did not like Type 0 for a number of reasons. And also just a silly idea to have as many main characters as it did and then not really flesh out any of them. Love 7, wasn't so keen on 8, and 10 was good. Yeah, I think 10's my favorite by far. 8, I think 8's actually of the, like... I think 8's the one who deserves a remake the most, because I think 8, if you refined it a little bit, could be amazing. But Chocobo's Tales sub-series really hit different for me. Yep. That's so cute. The boy! Squall was so annoying. Type 0 has the Nova Crusader. Yeah, I mean, that's just a broad problem. Although I think 13... for all its flaws, I think its flaws are more structural than anything else, and I think there's a lot that could be salvaged about the Nova Crucialis stories. I don't think that they're inherently fated to be bad, but most of them are. I also just normally not an action game and action RPG person. My feelings against the Tales and found able to show this. Yeah, for me, I'm the other way around. I am not usually a big turn-based guy, which is ironic seeing as 10 is my favorite one, but that deeply is going to affect your experience and enjoyment of one. Yeah, I think 8, as much as 7 needed a remake more because it's genuinely hard to enjoy or appreciate because of technical limitations from when it was made, I think 8 to me is the one that is in huge need of a remake. And I don't even think you need to do an 8R version of it. I don't think you need to do a reimagining of it in terms of what 7 did. I think you can just retell it, but sort of massage. I don't think you need a back half of 7 remake to 8. I think you just need to change and fine tune and alter a lot of things. And I think even just giving a lot of voice acting and character depth would do a lot. No, 9 is Zidane. 8 is Squall and all that good jazz. It's interesting that they used half of the old Warriors of Light, but then they didn't use a Warrior of Light for Dragoon, and then the Paladin isn't the Rogadin. Ah, the edgy boys. Yeah. Yeah, Warrior of Lights are definitely going to steal Bahamut. That's going to work. I've always been confused by Nomura saying he wanted to do one for 5 and 6 too. Well, 6 I get. It's certainly the only of the 2 DFFs I can't get without doing A Stranger of Paradise. Just 5. Well, I mean, 5 is really beloved. 5 and 6 could both stand to be reimagined to a small extent in full 3D in the modern times. I think the thing is that 4 already got a DS remake, and so did 3, and 5 and 6 have never gotten some like really gotten more love, and also I think they are really good stories. And also in the West, 5 never got nearly as much of its due as 6 did. Yeah, if there's one thing you can say about 12, its world building is fire. That's for sure. Like, that is just inarguable. I think once I understood, too, that 12 is a 5-act structure story, it improved a lot. Because I remember playing it as a kid and being like, this story feels really weird in how it's paced. But once you kind of understand it's kind of doing a Shakespearean act structure, it makes a lot more sense. I loved 9 so much. It was fun and emotional for me. Enjoyed and 3 and 4. 14 is my favorite game. Otherwise, yeah, I try not to compare 14 to the others because by nature of being an MMO, its story structure is just so fundamentally different that it seems almost unfair. 12 is Vaughn. Yes, that is correct. 14 is just too good. I adore everything in this game. Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. That's for sure. For me, I appreciate 3. 3 is just a little too classic JRPG for my taste. It's just I don't enjoy it as much. I don't have an emotional catharsis with it as at moments that I can throughout 4, 5, or 6. But I don't think it's because 3 is weaker. I just think it's my personal druthers. And you see in the ways in which 3 inspired the team for 14, and that is important. I love 5. I can see 6 in full 3D 7R style with even some optional stuff like saving a certain general. 5, I can't see it in the same style. I can't see its story in full 3D like that. Yeah, I can, but like I also wouldn't assume that it would be. It wouldn't. I would say take 7R as more of a loose framework, not necessarily as a strict way it could be done. And on top of that, I think there's a linearity in a way in which 5 does not necessitate it the same way 6 does. I think you're right. 6 lends itself more. But I would say, think about how different Final Fantasy VII Remake is to 7. Like, it's wildly different in terms of its structure and things going on, its pacing and its storytelling and its world exploration. So I would assume if you do that for 5 or 6, that's going to be even more so. So I would say it's always going to be a reimagining more than it is going to be a 1-to-1 or even a slight alteration. 12 is Vaughn. Balthier depends on how you look at them. In terms of protagonists, yeah. I just love how Balthier is so good. I love Balthier, and his voice actor is phenomenal. But I love how Balthier and Fran is just it's just Han Solo and Chewbacca. It just straight up is. It's good shit. I remember getting lost in a secret boss in 12, ran into optional espers way too early, and kept trying to grind it. Yep, 12 will let you do that. Nobody's saying anything about 15. I think that's because 15 is deeply flawed in a different way. I think 15 has some incredible highlights that I wish the rest of the game around it earned. 15, I would describe 15 as also a game that is deeply flawed in especially its story structure and pacing and its inability to fully execute on its narratives. But I don't think 15 is bad. The only reasons I'm ever frustrated with 15, as much as I am often frustrated with 15, is because I see its potential, not because I think it's bad. But I know quite a few people who love 15 and do not have the same problems I have. Yeah, there's certainly points to it, just hard for me to see everything, I guess. Though I will say that it looked good in the Omega raids at least. Yeah, I mean, frankly, we've got those fights and representations already a little bit in 14, which is nice. 15 was my first Final Fantasy, and I love it, but sad that it was rushed and had a lot of flaws. Yeah, Chrome. Yeah, that is exactly. I mean, the fact that it was your first and you can still kind of tells you a lot. I am thankful for everyone who gets to play it and enjoy it, and I begrudge them none. It is a game that drops its balls. It tries to juggle too many balls, and then it drops them constantly. And even though you have beautiful moments, like the final campfire between the brothers, the friends, the crew, there are phenomenal moments. the fact that so many other parts of the game around it let it down is what makes me sad. Oh, flow is so good. I mean, the entire soundtrack for Endwalker is phenomenal, but the way it gets used to just 15 is it's flawed experience. I would say 13's worse. I enjoy 13 more. I think 13's pacing is broken to all heck, but there's more of a catharsis that I got behind in 13. I also haven't played it in a decade, and I mean to revisit it. But I definitely can see why you would think why 13 would work for someone less than 15. I definitely understand that. Noct will always have a place in my heart. Yeah, Noctis is a great protagonist. I wish the story around him served him better. And I fucking love all the bros. Agreed. I cried at that moment, to be honest. Yeah, it's that moment at that final campfire. It's one of those things where that campfire moment in a vacuum is just tremendous. There's just no question. And yeah. 15's problem is it was trying to do 3 or 4 different games in development, and it shows. Yep. I mean, I think it has even more problems than that, but I think ultimately it all comes down to that. I'm gonna be quiet for a second. Sorry, I needed to vibe out. It's too good not to... I know I'm in the middle of the stream, but I have to vibe out. The music's too good. I've seen Flow described as a counter to the Song of Oblivion and Singer Sing. Yeah, and Yoshi P talked about that recently too, and how the Song of Hope, that was the song that... and Sokund, I think, talked about this. That the Song of Hope that Medion sings is supposed to be a combination of Flow, In the Distance, and Endwalker. Or Footfalls. Like that is what the Song of Hope is supposed to be. Arden is a big piece of it. As someone who has not even touched the DLC, carries the game. The hardest for me, him instead of Noct. So good. Cup Noodles 15 is alright. Stop the music or I'm gonna cry. No one can stop Flow's vibes. Nope. It's too good. It's so good. Oh, and In the Distance. Every time I go to Ultimate Thule, I just have to stop for a second and listen to it In the Distance. It makes gathering footage a pain. It's so good. This is going to be a little off topic, but the project mapping you just saw, Yoshi P is going to mention it.
提案されたのは、反対側だったんです。はい。ホテルの今見ていただいた面の真裏側の面。
Yeah, and they touch on that. Return to Oblivion makes connections between Hydaelyn, Shiva, and Reem too. So that's absolutely clearly. You gonna do me like this, music? I wanna cry.
そうすることによって警備の数が5分の1ぐらいで済むって言われたんですよ。
I would say, yeah, look at Return to Oblivion's lyrics if you want to see those parallels drawn forth too. The initial idea was to use the other side of the hotel you just saw in the video. I read the book that came out after. I was going to say if they execute on the Oversouls were. Yes, the book that came out, I forget what it's called. That story was, like, that alternate ending was insanely better and improved this a lot. It wouldn't have resolved all the issues, but it would have been a major improvement, the kid. I totally agree. 100% agree. Cry full dynamis.
やっぱ交通整理もそうだし、人が将棋倒しにならないようにねっていうのもそうだし、やっぱり見る人と通行
The initial idea was it would have reduced the amount of security staff we needed by about 80%. The police told us they would have to attend with 5,000 members to keep people and traffic safe.
でもあったんで、プロジェクトがもういや、拾ってどうすると。正面でやるんだ。
But I told them no. If we're doing it right. Oh, Yoshi P.
やるんだ。正面でやるんだ。本当に横浜のね、皆さん、本当にいろいろ協力いただいてね、実現したんで、ちょっとね、うるっときますね。今思えば。
When I saw how much it would cost, it did give me a little bit of a shock.
喋るっていうのをね、前日だかにやらされたんですよね、夜。やりましたよね。あれ前日の夜でしたっけ？
It was also the first time I was in front of a TV camera.
なんかプロデューサーとして なんかどうですかみたいな。めっちゃ緊張してめっちゃ噛んだ記憶がある。その後スタッフに吉田さん噛むの
I was so nervous. I think I mentioned the same sponsor twice.
なんか同じ協力会社の、名前を2回言った気がします。確か。いやなんかね、これを喋ってくださいって言われるとダメなんですよ。全然ダメで。
Reminds me of the Dissidia Omnia Opera mobile music. They let Lise and Papalino talk to each other, and I just broke on the spot.
台本通りに喋ろうって言われると全然できなくて。懐かしいですね。
Anything big in the live letters shown? Couldn't wake up early for it. Yeah, a couple things. I mean, I wouldn't say anything major. Main thing is a new adventure. What was it called? A new adventure is the name of the 6.1's name dropped, and it's just kind of touched on stuff about 6.1 and a thing that here or there. If anyone could fill, get Abel up to speed, I appreciate that. A newfound adventure is what the 6.1 is called. So, I was so nervous I mentioned the same sponsor twice, and that's already 5 years ago. Wow. Back to the 6.1 features. Improvements to a Realm Reborn main scenario quest. So hopefully this will be to in the line of what some of the stuff you're hoping for.
コンテンツサポーターシステム。これ名前初登場なんですけど、メインクエスト上でフェイスを使うことをコンテンツサポーターっていう言い方に変えます。
Might not be as far as we want it, but hopefully it'll definitely help. So the duty support system, a version of the trust system specifically for main scenario duties. In the future, trust will refer solely to the avatar leveling system. Trust from now on, yeah.
NPC と一緒にコンテンツを攻略するっていうシステム全体をコンテンツサポーターっていう言い方をしますので、
Yeah, it's gonna, I think, allow for a much stronger finale for a Realm Reborn to be like what it wants to be rather than the kind of rush fest we have right now with Castrum and Prey. Apparently, Castrum is getting a major rework. Like they're changing the entire section with the mechs and running around with them. Like they're changing a lot.
もうちょっと考えればよかったな。コンサポじゃダメかい？コンサポ。
せめてコンサポ。
せめてコンサポにしないかい？コンポタじゃなんだかわからない。
多分みんななんだかわからない。
そう美味しそうじゃん。
でなんだっけ？
やべ。やべ。
No more Ant-Man Westwind jokes. Yeah, sad, but it's much better. Yep. Will no longer. That meme will now only live in the hearts of those of us who were around for it. There will come a day where there are players who are, caught up and super in the story and stuff who just were never around. Duty support for a Realm Reborn patch 2.0. They would have to considering Castrum was extremely odd even compared to Prey. Yeah. Yeah, Castrum and Praetorium are both getting full facelifts. So what does this include? 4-player dungeons from patch 2.0 will be clearable with NPCs so you can do them solo. What is this OST called? Let's search high low for it. It's the main. I don't actually know this one's name off the top of my head because I think it's like just the main. If anyone knows the main battle theme, I mean not main battle theme. NPCs will be selected automatically according to your role, so you won't be choosing them. Comments, we're trying to joke about shortening the content support system, which is the Japanese name, into Konsapo, which Yoshida is rather reluctant. Right now, you have the Scions to pick from. That will stay the same for anything past 5.0. Yeah, this change is just unambiguously a good one. I've talked to some people who feel like, oh, well, won't this silo off players? But the thing is, there's always going to be content people end up doing together. And the number one thing, every time they do major surveys for 14, the number one thing, by far and away the number one thing preventing people from choosing to play 14 is they don't want to play an online game. They're afraid of online games. They're worried about it. They're stressed out by it. And so having a way for people to play 14 solo I think will actually end up providing a lot of opportunities for people to end up playing together. So I think this is going to allow a lot of new blood to join and will end up widening the community for 14 in a way that I think actually would be very healthy rather than in any way making it super single player focused. I think it's just now an option for those who stress out about it. Alliance raids and A players content is too much to cover. We'll try to get A player content done for 7.0, but Alliance raids won't be happening. So there will not be Alliance raids trust system, which means that if you are playing 14, you will have to do at least one thing with other players anyways, because you have to do Crystal Tower before you get to 5.3. Do you have to? You probably have to do it before you finish Realm Reborn. I don't know, because I was in Shadowbringers before they made that change. Trusts are slow. This will certainly help those who do not want to play together at all, but this will not stop queues for people who bite the bullet and realize it ain't that bad. Absolutely. And it's so much faster that, like, if you're someone who wants to optimize, yeah. No, I think this is a really, really good change for the community and for the game as a whole. The possible negatives are far outweighed by all the boons and all the gains. I'll be interested to see if we get anyone in the trust system. So, like, if you're in Stormblood, right, and you go to do, I'm forgetting the name of it, the Yol dungeon, Bardom's Medal. If you go to do Bardom's Medal, will Hien join you as one of the DPS? Because that'd be really cool. I don't know if they'll do that. It'll be hard to know for now because, like, it's going to be all Realm Reborn, so it's going to just be random adventures for now. Players were speculating about maybe Ada would be part of this, but that would make the storylines very confusing and chaotic. Yeah, that doesn't really work with the lore because their group was supposed to mess up in their going through the dungeon, so it doesn't really make sense for them to be with you during that time. As well as they would have been together as a group, and if you take one of their slots, it then doesn't make any sense. The dungeons you see on the list are the supported ones. Also, Aurum Vale apparently will not be supported because it's not an MSQ main story one. Yoshi P stated it is the main reason for this was the surveys and the amount of people who clearly wanted to. But yeah, definitely it's a big thing is eliminating the MSQ roulette. So much work with working with, say, Arenvald. Well, we may still work with Arenvald, it just may only be in later content. It's not clear how it's going to play out for Heavensward On yet. I mean, we already had Estinian and Aerie confirmed, so it'll be interesting to think about. In the story, he has his own test. Horshafa as Trust NPC. Yeah, that would be a great idea. Aurum Vale Curse lives on. Yes. The thing is about the more you can do to create foster connections to characters is like as a player, I played all of Shadowbringers and Endwalker through the first time through with trusts. Because that you can obviously, because that just like made the story feel more alive and connected for me. Other people are gonna play it different, but I adore playing with other players. Like that's my preferred way to play. But my first time through the MSQ, I remember getting to Ultima Thule, and I was there on day 3, not even day 3 of the expansion being out, and no one else was there. I thought Ultima Thule there was no other player there until you finished the MSQ. I only found out later that that's not the case. I had to wait 40 minutes as a tank to do the final days because no one else was there. Dungeons that aren't part of the main story will not be supported. Some textures will also be updated. I don't remember what this mission is called. I don't know if Yoshi's joking. I mean, how can you not trust in that level 86 dungeon? Yeah, that level 86 dungeon is it's a banger. It's a real banger. And the dialogue options you get too are pretty great. Yeah, it also makes sense because the Grand Companies all the Grand Companies are united to go attack Praetorium and Castrum, so it makes sense that you'd get a member from each of them. That's actually a really cool flavor idea thing. Yeah, well, cool. The Grand Company NPC are there. Yep. I only saw 3 other people in Ultima Thule, and they were doing the MSQ with me. Then I got to the end, and the chat is blowing up because she's about to spawn, and I got out of the end. That's why I mainlined the story. I didn't want to have that sort of thing happen. I'm really thankful I did, because being in Ultima Thule alone was so resonant for that story. Okay, so we're getting Sasasha, Tamtara, Copperbell, Bowl. Oh! So we're getting the primals too, which I guess makes sense. They showed Garuda a second ago. But I'm surprised. The Porta Decumana. The ultimate weapon battle. Interesting. It seems that the ultimate weapon battle is now its own trial. Cool. Awesome. Thank the 12. It should be.
あります。
あれね、新規の方分かるわけがないんですよ。なんか先輩急にブーンって唱え出すじゃないですか。って、あそこにはですね、テレポート用のポーターを
I wonder if La Habrea is going to be removed as part of that fight, or is it just going to be part of the ultimate weapon trial? I wonder how that's going to function. Did they? I must have missed it. I knew they were changing Praetorium. I didn't realize they were making the ultimate weapon its own battle.
やっぱりそのコンテンツサポーターの AI でクリアできるっていう内容に変えてますんで。
Cool. Awesome. I just managed to miss or forget about it.
相当年月経ってるんで。あれですけど、ちょっと久しぶりにレベルレとかでこの
Cool. Awesome, guys. Thanks for letting me know.
感じになってるんじゃないかなと。はい。
I have no problem with it, but it's really funny when all of you guys at once are like, La Habrea instant fight, La Habrea. It's just funny when everyone's trying to help. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is going to be so much better. This is going to be a really, it's going to be a ton better. Once you're done with the boss in the basement, it is normal to use return. But how is Sprout supposed to know that? So we put a teleporter there. So they're adding a teleporter in Hawk instead of having to make you use return, which is... It's stuff like this, right? It's just like the little things and the little tweaks and the improvements that is one of the many reasons we love this team. Little changes like this don't only affect the duty support when you match with random players and go into Hawk. It will also be updated. So it's going to be for both. It's going to be for matching with people or for the duty support. Hey, major revisions to Cape Westwind and later duties. Hopefully we'll actually learn specifics. Solo quest battle. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, it doesn't even make sense to make it any form of trial or four-person or anything. It just, yeah, solo quest is. So much little quality of life changes are nice. Yeah, it's amazing how far quality of life improvements can go. Lots of the right steps on UX direction. Yep. Rip Cape Westwind. The hardest trial in the game is going. Yep, Everlark, I've definitely had that happen too. And I feel for them, because, like, how are you supposed to know that until, like, someone tells you? Still won't stop people from not knowing to turn around after the first boss, but Hawk Manor will now be much better in leveling already. Yeah, absolutely. We're updating Case Westwind, as previously mentioned. It was the first 8-player content, and we told players to come prepared. But without watching clear videos or guides, the content was done within a minute. So goodbye to that. We're changing it into a 1-player instance battle. And hopefully that'll also make people have more of a connection with... oh my god, I'm forgetting his name. My brain's not working tonight. But the main guy there, because the way he shows up in Aetioscope will become more meaningful and powerful. Like with Livia. Yep, that makes sense. Castro becoming a 4-player dungeon. I wiped 294 times on one Westwind run. We timed out in the middle of our 295th. Now we can have a true battle that won't wipe. Oh, geez, just woke up at least this time. Oh, hey, you made it for the live letter. I'm seeing the sun come up right now. Riton. Yeah, oh, the Japanese is right there. Riton. Ritaden, something like that. Yeah. I always forget his name because Realm Reborn is so much of Realm Reborn ends up being a blur. And he's important, but he's not super important. And I haven't made any content on him. But once I make content on him, I'll definitely remember his name. Which is one of my favorite parts of my making videos, how much it helps me remember names, people's places, and all that stuff. Because once you have to write a thing, then record a thing, then listen to yourself say that thing 100 times, you're going to remember.
で、さらにですね、はい、最終決戦魔道場プラネトリウムはですね、
So you've got the duty with probably the duty up to the point of fighting Gaius, and the duty up to the point of fighting Ultima, and then the duty with La Habrea. That's why I want to do New Game Plus. One of the yes, I'm going to continue. I was doing a series on a lore replay, but I stopped doing it because it was early in the days of the channel and not a lot of people were showing up for the stream. But I'm going to start going back to doing those lore replay videos soon. So we'll start with The Realm Reborn. Start through Gaius battle. Yep, called it. Ultimate Weapon battle and La Habrea battle. Yep. Dungeon, then Trial, then Solo Quest. Yeah, that makes total sense, because La Habrea battle doesn't need to be a repeated thing, whereas the Ultimate Weapon battle... It's gonna be fun to replay those, to play those for the first time. Maybe I'll wait till this comes out, and that's when I'll start continuing my Realm Reborn replay, so that way I can actually play these for the first time this way.
まあという形でですね、はい、大幅にここら辺が変わっております。で、ちょっとこのまま説明させてほしいんですけど、はい、まあここまでやれば、
I will say, so far my experience is that in replaying A Realm Reborn is that sadly, to an extent, going back to A Realm Reborn makes me appreciate it so much more because of all the bedrock it's like foundation it creates and how much it ends up mattering later on. There's going to be Mock Gaius battle, got it. Wonder if they'll fix the famous graphical glitch with the Ultima cast in its Phase 2 cutscene. I wouldn't be surprised if the fight gets quite retooled. So it's possible. You also... we were thinking of removing MSQ Roulette, but we're keeping it. Compared to other dungeons, they're still longer. So apparently MSQ Roulette is staying. We were thinking of removing MSQ Roulette, but we're keeping it. Compared to other dungeons, they're still longer. It is a lot shorter now then, so we'll just adjust the rewards. So they're keeping MSQ Roulette, but adjusting the rewards. So if you do MSQ Roulette, you'll get any of those three or at the end. Hey, get a little boost for doing a trial or a 4-man dungeon. You know, like, heck, yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, Kamar, the world building in Realm Reborn. The problem is that, not a problem, but because it's so front-loaded, because Realm Reborn lacks some of the deftness in writing and doesn't have as much voice acting, it front loads a lot, which is so valuable, but also I understand why people bounce off of it. I nearly bounced off of it my first time through. Yeah, free gil. That's free real estate. I mean gil.
人とやるのはなっていう方にお勧めしていただけると大変助かります。はい。はい。よろしくお願いいたします。あとなんか言っとくことあるかな。まあ今後の予定とかを話すと、まあ 2.0 範囲はあんまりこう暁が結構別行動が多いんで、
It's like One Piece a lot in that regard.
知ってる NPC とみたいなのはないけど、まあそのだんだんこう
It's an interesting comparison. I haven't gotten enough into the back half of One Piece to really say much one way or another, but it's an interesting comparison. My experience is that One Piece upfronts the world building, then midterms the world building, then back halfs the world building and never stops. Been watching the WoW refugees playing through it the first time, and they are loving it. Yeah, my experience. I think the thing is, people are so used to having such low expectations for MMO stories that A Realm Reborn itself has been a breath of fresh air. I know for me, I was at a point in life where I had a lot of existential dread and was just really unable to engage with A Realm Reborn where it was at and where I was at, and I just had a really hard time with it. But that was more because of where I was at in life rather than anything that Realm Reborn was doing wrong. Well, part of it was also I was playing it before the truncation and a lot of other quality of life stuff. In 2.0, the Scions are very spread out, so you won't see them often, if at all, for the dungeons. But we did think about which NPC players would want to see for certain dungeons as their support. Awesome, and so we're definitely going to see that then for Heaven's Word, and like I was saying, Hien for Bardam's Medal, I bet. Which is super exciting, because the more things you can do to make people endeared and to characters, the better. Well, I'm sorry WoW has been in a rough spot for a while, but we're absolutely glad to have you in the community for 14, so glad to have you here. Hope you've been having a great time. For me, I've never been an MMO person, never was able to even buy one until 14, so I was stuck on free trials. Took a big chance buying the collectors on sale back in July instead of trying the trial. Well, I'm glad that it's been paying off for you. To any and all of you who have come to it recently, we're glad to have you. We were thinking about changing Thornmarch Moogle King, but that's only a thought for now. Oh, that's gonna be divisive. That's gonna be a divisive change if they do. King Moogle. And his musical theme, which is just "This is Halloween," and once you've heard that, you'll never unhear it. I was banging on the Kefka fight getting me interested, honestly. That was what got me to try it, judging by the fact I beat base 5.0 in 45 days. Nice. Yeah, I can definitely sense that you would like it based off of that. I want Moogle Mog weapons for all jobs again. Can you imagine what the new lifts from a Moogle Mog would look like? I will say, I really wish that I could get like Binding Coils new lifts. Those would look so good. Hopefully we'll get more Allegan style stuff when we visit Allegan installations in the New World or Mericidia or in Corvos. Whenever we go to Corvos, there's going to be Allegan installations of some kind like they were in Baja. He wanted to keep some spoilers for us to find out about Todorok, but Foxconn just spoiled it. But you guys can find out in the dungeon. They're not translating what they just said, but there's going to be some more changes to Todorok. 4 Moogles with pistols. For Hien, though, wasn't the implication that he and the Warrior of Langosetsu at least did the Bardam medal separately? The mission text even alludes to Warrior of Light cheating by bringing in the Warrior of Light. Yeah, I haven't looked at it closely, so you may be right. However, one thing is that they could change that, which they've done small changes like that in the past for some things that they've changed when they've altered things. I mean, we're seeing an entire change to Prey, and this is a huge shift. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw those things end up being change. It's also possible that we just get 4 people from the steppe. We just get a bunch of Dothral or something that show up with us. There's a whole bunch of ways that you could see us getting a party for Bardam's Medal. But that is a good point, Everlark. Corvos is going to be full of cat stuff, right? Can't wait. Well, it's definitely going to have some Mikote stuff, that's for sure. Getting rid of the green goo. They said they're getting rid of the slow from the goo. That's for sure. They 100% told us that last time. That is the one thing we do know. Oh, hey, data center travel. So, allows for players to visit worlds in different logical data centers within the same physical data center and challenge duties for players from those DCs. So, for now, we're not going to be able to, you won't be able to go to the EU if you're in the NA. Because that's the difference between a logical and a physical data center. At least that's my understanding.
遊びに行っている人のキャラクター名には、トラベラーという表示が、
Players' nameplates will display the traveler tag.
ワールド間テレポで遊びに行くとワンダラーってつきますよね。
So Light and Chaos, Aether, Primal, and Crystal, and Mana, Elemental, and Gaia. So Light and Chaos can travel to each other. Aether, Primal, and Crystal can travel to each other. And then Mana, Elemental, and Gaia can travel to each other. They did hint that they would someday like to do physical data center cross travel, but that won't be for a while. They mentioned Todoroki was getting all the poison removed. Wonder what else they could. Corvus, I expect to get the Turncliff treatment, honestly. I would be pretty shocked if that was the case, but you could be right. That's a shame as I have friends on the NA server. Yes, there's still a chance though that we will still get the same restrictions as the world visit system will apply. Yeah, but we may yet get NA to EU and all that stuff. That's not against, but it won't be for until at least post 7, maybe 7.0 and beyond. I believe is the last thing we heard about that. The thing is that there's a ton of lore and stories tied to Corvus that are really important to multiple factions and multiple groups. If it got the Turncliff treatment, that would be really weird. But again, you may be right, Hydra. I would be pretty surprised though. Regarding cross-world, regarding cross-world link shells, which affects some people very much and most people very little. Yeah, so you're going to be able to talk between link shells because you're in the same logical data set. Oh, no. Cross-world link shell is available so long as said seal exists within a logical data center. Yes, but will not if you go to different logical data centers because of how they're coding. Cross DC party. That'll be, I don't know we would see a cross DC party finder, but it's possible. I guess it would be worth asking Yoshi P what his opinion on it is.
まあ論理データセンター内であれば、まあ当然みんなチャットできるよね。ワールドが違っても、ワールド間テレポしてても使えると思うんですけど、これがデータセンタートラベルで、マナからガイアに遊びに行ったわっていう場合は、クロスワールドリンクシェルのチャットって見えないので。
I want full Corvus as much as the next person, but I honestly can't see it as that big currently, bigger than Turkey.
はい、こちらですね。
Oh. No, there's a lot. Like, you've got the straights and narrows of Corvus, you've got the things going on with Corvus, you've got things going on with Garlemald, you've got the things with the giant of, the anchorite of Corvus, you have things going on with what we know there are ancient Allegan secrets and installations. I think there's enough for a map that size. But whether we get one or not, I think is anyone's guess. But yeah, I hear you about the trepidation and hesitance. So I think being cautious in our expectations is the better move. So, from patch 6.2, it'll be possible to join cross-world link shells on other logical data centers via DC control. God, I love the Amaro Mount theme. It's a good song. So chill. It's a great flying theme.
じゃあ普通に一緒に遊ぶコンテンツ攻略するチームはマナでやってるけども、私の本籍はエレメンタルですみたいなことは全然 6.2 から。
So for example, you could go to Mana and join a cross-world link shell on Mana that exists on Mana, and then talk to people via that while you're on the Mana logical data center. I want to one day grind all the jobs to get that mount. Hey, we've been doing community events for people to get all their bird mounts. I'm more than happy to get more events going of running things like Boja with groups and all sorts of stuff to allow people to accomplish their goals, because I know how much that can mean for people. So if you have things you want to accomplish, don't be afraid to join in our Discord and either do looking for group or just, mention it here in live streams or on the Discord, and I'll try to create community events for that. be it something like Heaven on High or getting all the mounts from Extreme Trials. Happy to help facilitate that. Do note that the only restriction once the 6.2 feature implemented is that you can no longer see what's happening in your home DC FC chats. So like you won't be able to see your FC chat when you're on a different data center. I wanted to make it as simple as world visit, but we need to be more careful with the data we handle, so that was not possible. Yeah, because if you have anything go wrong with the data, that's a big worry. Come join us. It's worth it. Also, Tsukuyomi is rough. Yeah, I did do a Tsukuyomi run. I actually went and re-watched and rechecked out everything after the roughness of it. But I think if we have a full group with people knowing what they're doing, I think we should be okay. I farmed that one for the dog and for the lunar paintings in the past, so that one I'm at least pretty familiar with. And it's dope music. Where can we join from? Charity, can you throw a link to the Discord in the chat for me? That the Medcheck Critter Mountain finally just completing the Eureka story done are the only goals I have left, besides completing Omega Ult, which I would genuinely become a quad legend and prep for. Yeah, nice. I have actually completed no legendaries or no ultimates because I have not had a group to do them with, which is something that I've been frustrated with, but I really want to do ultimates at some point. I don't even know how many.
左にある論理データセンターから右のなんか壊れた論理データセンターに旅してる。これめっちゃ混雑してる時は勝利に30分とかちょっとかかる可能性がある。
After you select the DC, you'll be put back in the title screen. Once the request is in progress, you cannot cancel it. If it's congested, it might take 30 minutes. So for anyone who tried to switch servers during Endwalker's high queue congestion, that was a... Don't try to switch servers if you're not ready to wait for a little bit.
どっちかというとその今までやってたホームワールド変更サービスみたいなやつを駆使してる。まあそういうことですね。
Because if you've ever tried to switch servers while there's been high congestion, you will be stuck wherever you try to do the service. So I was once stuck in Limsa for 40 minutes straight. Which there are worse fates, but not much. Not much worse.
DC ちょっと旅してみようみたいな感じでやっててもらえると。
And also Hydra, to some of your other goals, I'm sure we should try to get people together to do Eureka as well, because I finished Eureka, but I'm sure there are plenty of people who have not and would like to do it and would be hugely benefited by having a community group to play with. That's the main issue. I can't find Savage Party fan groups and get clears, no problem. And even when doing synced open, it's not that hard thanks to friendly people out there, but also requires static, which I lack. Yep. The more people we get in the community for Eorzean archives, the more I'm going to try to foster maybe getting some kinds of statics or something going so that people can start to try and achieve those things.
まあなのでちょっとねそのワールドカンテレポよりは
yeah, that guy. I'm gonna go ahead and grab it for us real quick. 画面でやる必要もありますし、まあ慎重に論理データセンターを超えてキャラクターデータを移動させなきゃいけないので、ちょっと分数かかる状態ではありますけど。リアルフレンドのところ、そうですね。DC 違いのところに遊びに行けたりとか、いろいろやれます。 And don't be afraid. So, like, primarily a lot of people use this for, like, talking to each other and talking about lore stuff, but we have all sorts of discussions in the community in your Discord. So, but if you ever have any lore questions or just want to ask something to someone, there are so many people in our Discord that would love to help out. Like, a lot of people are super, super helpful. So, I would highly recommend never be afraid to communicate, even if something feels like it's super simple or dumb or whatever. Just I joined the Hero FC for this reason, but still haven't found a group, and things will join. Awesome. Measures to increase limit for simultaneous logins. Okay, yeah, this is mostly for the JP. I mean, maybe some of you are on the JP data center, but this isn't going to be super relevant to most of us.
それ以降もですね、もっともっとファイナルファンタジー14発展させていきたいと思っていて、やっぱりこう混雑で遊べないっていうことをやっぱなくしていきたいと思ってます。なので。まあ日本のデータセンターにログインできる、同時にログインできる、プレイヤーキャラクターの上限数を引き上げるための、施策だと、ご理解いただけると幸いです。はい。 じゃあ具体的に何をするかというとですね、まず論理データセンターの数今3つです。
Oh my god, a bunch of joined all at once.
させていただ
I
い
am going
て、
to
今各論理デ
wave
ータ
at
セ
all
ン
of
ターの
y'all.
中にあるワールド数が11ないし10なんですけど、これが非常に
Oh, actually, I can't right now because I'm in streamer mode. So I will wave at all of you, I promise, the second I get out of the stream.
これによって各ワールドに
Glad to have you all on board.
同時ログインできる人数の上限を下げてしまっているので、これを改めて4論理デー
Yeah,
タセンターに
I will
させてい
say
ただいて
we're not going to see congestion like we did with Endwalker until 7.0. So I mean, we've got time. It's not a big worry of mine. I mean, we might see for the 6.1, 6. All the 6.x releases.
がまあ上限数千単位で引き上げられるようになるので、これによって日本
I still see part of looking for stack members, but
5
yeah.
万人以上さらにで
Thanks,
す
we were
同
supposed
時
to
に
get it. Well, we can apply these to the new DC coming in August. Yep.
混雑が
Wave.
まあ発生しにくくなる。
Wave.
はい。
First part in
で
August,
こち
second
ら
coming
な
in
んですが、
2023.
実
Yep.
施
Okay.
スケジュールは、
Cool.
今年2022年の7月頃を予定しております。はい。
Yep. For implementation July 2022, that's for Japan, and then we've got the first part implementation in August for
では、はい。
the memes that came from it was amazing though.
論
Yeah.
理データセンターの
Yes. That's honestly as much as like sometimes it could have been it was frustrating.
今はまあエレメンタル
I kind of I'm so
いや
used to like
まあ
MMOs
三
and
つの
like stuff like that
論理
happening
デー
during
タセンターで
launches,
運
and
用されていて、
Yoshi
ま
B
あ
tried to
それ
prep
が
everyone, and all I could think was there are gonna be
非
some great
常に
memes and stories from this,
うん
and it's gonna be okay in the
で
future.
これを
And I
で
know
す
some
ね
people just feel frustrated about it, and
新しい
my heart goes out to you and
させ
empathy
て
to
い
you.
ただきます
But for me, it was kind of just part of the
エレメン
experience
タ
of
ル
going through
界
early
やマナー
Endwalker,
それぞれ
and that
8ワ
was
ール
it
ド
was
で
was part of the
新しい論
journey.
理データセンターにも8ワールドという構成にさせていただきます。でまずこの新しい論理データセンターの名前なんで
I
す
mean,
が、
Robon Savage was a nightmare for everyone, and they hated it at the time, but now it's a great meme.
メテオ DC。うん。なんか
Meteor.
そういえば意外と14の象徴メテオなんだけど使ってない
You know how important of a character Gaia is? She got her own server
し
before she ever even came
ただ
out.
ね、一個
Crazy.
って思ったのが、なんか落ちそうなイメー
It's
ジ。
8 a.m. here, so I'm actually going to hop off and get some rest, but I hope the rest of the stream goes well. Yeah, it's about to be 7, so lovely to have you, Hydra. Thanks so much for checking in. Hope to see you guys in the future.
でですね、あんまり
Lovely to have you all around. Thanks for joining. That guy on YouTube. Speaking of meme opinions on the low poly grapes, I mean,
を新設するにあたってですね、まあ既存その
they were really bad. I saw them in Labyrinthos. I was like, Jesus. I'm glad they fixed them. I know for many people it makes them sad that the low poly grapes are no longer around. But I don't know. I like it that I like it when my grapes aren't sharp. I don't like my grapes to cut me when I eat them. Those 2 million and under players, I have loved seeing this game grow so much since 14. Yeah, Charity, I bet. I'm back. What did I miss? Not a whole bunch. I don't know when you left off. I mean, it's been a little bit light because a lot of this is a lot of quality of light stuff. Right now, we're in the Japanese data center expansion stuff, and right before this, we were just talking about data center travel, but nothing huge.
まあ様々なですね、どういった国からプレイされてるかとか、まあどんなタイプの人たちがいるかとかいうのを、まあ多角的にかなり数字を見させていただいて、
Oh, Valfor. That's nice. Do you like grapes instead of blood? I'm now just imagine. Okay, wait. I gotta make a note.
本当にコミュニティという観点で言えば、本当に申し訳ないとは思ってるんですが、できる限りのサポートはさせていただこうと思ってますので、一旦こちらで行かせていただければと思ってます。
I'm going to make a meme of that at some point.
じゃあちょっといろいろ不安も
Blood for the grape lily.
ここからちょっとそれに対してのサポートのお話をさせていただきます。
はい、お願いします。
まずワールドリーグループでクロスワールドリンクシェルの一部のメンバーが
Let me see if I can
メテオ
find.
DC に移動した場合、特定の状況では、クロスワールドリンクシェルチャットを利用可能って、まあちょっと言い方があれだな。でも
Someone was asking about low poly grapes.
次行った方がいいな。
そうですね。はい。ちょっとご説明していきましょう。
はい。
Part 2.
今マナ DC にいて、クロスワールドリンクシェルが成立してる。ここから
So the main thing that happened right after at the start of part 5, main thing they were talking about was changes to Castrum, the duty system. They're not getting of MSQ Roulette, so they're keeping MSQ Roulette, but now Castrum and Praetorium has been split up in different ways, and so we'll still get them, but they are now much shorter and much more streamlined. I would say that that's the main thing that you would have missed, is talking about the changes to the duty system and Castrum, Cape Westwind, and Praetorium, as well as some changes coming to earlier Rumorborn maps. Or maps, I say dungeons, not maps. Sorry, it is 7 a.m. and I last slept at, I don't know when I last slept, a while ago.
クロスワールドリンクシェル使えるので。
なるほど。
はい。で、リーダーは自動的に
I would say, Patrick, I was mentioning this during it. I think I was saying something to you, but a lot of it are changes that I think you're going to be looking forward to in our streamlining efforts for 2.0, and not in grandiose ways that you might want for the broader MSQ, but I think in ways that will definitely help. I mean, there's more to it than I'm just sort of giving a brevity recap, but yeah. Yeah, a day or so ago, something like that.
例えば霊式行くときはどっちかの DC に集まってとかいうことが可能になるようにはさせていただいてます。はい。
They're just talking about the reconfiguration of the Japanese data centers. There's not a lot interesting to in terms of the translations.
DC へ移動したプレイメンバーの C さんがですね、データセンタートラベルを使ってマナ DC へ遊びに行くと、そのままマナ DC の中にあるクロスワールドリンクシェルは使えますよ。チャットができるようになりますよ。
Everything.
そういうことですね。
はい。
You know all the content coming out for the next 10 years? I want it now. I want it this weekend.
次、はい、でもいいですよ。次はもうない。
逆もしかりのことですね。
そうだね。はい、逆もしかりで。
I want to restore the 13th this weekend. I want to go to Mare City this weekend. I want to go to the New World this weekend. I want to go to all the other shards this weekend. I want to see what else is beyond in the Sea of Stars this weekend. It's gonna be a party! Oh, thanks for joining us, Zalaran. Glad to have you. Have a good lesson. Cheers.
さらにパッチ 6.2 でメンバーを追加していけるようにしていこうと思ってますので遊びに。
I think I was talking about the Rumorborn Trust Dungeons and Trust. I mentioned the duty, what are they called now? They have a slightly different name than the trust system. But yes, I was trying to sort of briefly cover that. But if you want to go into detail on that, that's fine. I'm just trying to pay attention to this while also paying attention to you guys. After regrouping of worlds, players can use the homeworld transfer service for the Japanese data centers free of charge for time. It's basically what we saw with when it is. They aren't, but it's kind of like opening a new data center, like with what we saw. But it's just going to be within the JP data center, so it's not everybody gets to do that. Yeah. Yeah, no, their purpose for redoing Castrum was never about removing the roulette. That was just a side effect that they were considering. It was always about making it so that the new duty system made more sense for it, and because it had always been weirdly paced. Yeah, they're diminishing the rewards, but they're basically now you're basically going to get one of like 2 or 3 dungeons or a trial. So it's going to be it's going to be kind of like doing a different kind of 50, 60, 70 / trial roulette. So it's just another option if you want it. I mean, if you don't care to do another roulette, then it's no I think duty support system is what they called it. I think you're right, Chrome.
どっちみち FC はワールド内のコミュニティなので、まあこの論理データセンターをチャットが貫通できればいいんですけど、チャットサーバーの仕組みが根本から
I think they're wrapping up that and starting to move on.
遠い将来できないともちろん 断言はしない、また何でも結構こうチャレンジして可能にしてきたのが14なんで、何かしら考えてはいきたいと思いますが、一旦このような形とさせていただいております。はい。
You think his shirt's insinuating anything? Seeing as it says Alexander McQueen on it, you think he's referenced because his shirts sometimes are like handset feature stuff. But it think it has anything to do with Alexander? I wonder.
やっぱり説明しといた方がいいのが、チャットはいいんだけどコンテンツはいけるんですかって。そうですね。
Yeah, it's not clear what's going to end up in the new MSQ roulette, but it seems like it's going to be the dungeon for Praetorium, the dungeon for Castrum, or the trial for Castrum. Or I maybe just did that backwards. My bad. Here, let me go find the while we're waiting, the screenshot that explained it. So Cape Westwind is becoming a solo instance. Castrum is becoming a 4-man dungeon. And then Praetorium is becoming a 4-player dungeon, a 4-player trial, solo quest battle. So now you're either going to get a 4-player dungeon for Castrum, you'll get a 4-player dungeon fighting Gaius for Praetorium, or a 4-player trial fighting the ultimate weapon for Praetorium.
FC ハウスも同じ対応ですけど。
Talking about FC housing. So they're reading right now. Yoshi P is reading comments, and so he's just looking at all the different player comments. Because when they don't have a translator, usually when he's being translated in English, he has time to kind of like look at comments and read them a little bit more. But when he's just doing it straight. So Praetorium won't take 45 minutes. No, not at all. Praetorium is basically going to be a dungeon or a normal dungeon or a normal trial. That constitutes that basically. It's not. There's not going to be any 45-minute content in the game from here on out. In any way. I mean, 45-minute in terms of like a singular instance like that. It's better than abandoning. Honestly, I use Castrum to get a lot of work done because I just use the cutscenes to do like laundry or stuff. It was really helpful for that. I don't need it as much anymore, but for the time. I think they're gonna find ways to. The thing is that a lot of the way things that a Gaius is saying in that can be spread throughout, and also could be better. I think to your point you've made, I think the monologue Gaius gives, the points he is making, I think can be made in fewer lines. To the point you were talking about earlier about things could just be the same point being made with 10% of the time. I think you could cut down. I think there's ways you can retool all of that and still make it work. Because ultimately his point is a firm belief in the fact that peace matters and is important, but the strong must lead, else chaos will reign. And it is my right and duty, ethically and morally, to dominate you because I am the strongest. That's essentially what he's saying. And it doesn't. And also, hey, what's the difference between you and your 12 and the beast tribes and their primals? Like, it calls a couple things into question, but he doesn't need to be doing it for 20 minutes. Yeah, I just think there's a different point between selectively applying that in certain places versus saying. I don't think there's a ton of quests where there is that much truncation without losing things that become relevant later. But you're right. To an extent, I think there are definitely places where I agree with your point, for sure. Okay, Yuki. Okay. I can't be the only one who sees Gaius go golden armor and think he goes Super Saiyan. Yeah, I forgot there used to be the dialogue choice. It doesn't help that Gaius is so much more of an interesting character than the English voice actor in A Realm Reborn. Like, the English voice actor in Realm Reborn is a good voice actor, and he's great for all sorts of things. He's miscast, because Gaius is not a cartoonishly evil character. He's actually a very philosophical and nuanced character who has a philosophy. And by the time you get around to Gaius, post A Realm Reborn, you understand that. And it's much more interesting. But that all of the things that make Shadowhunter interesting in the later stuff are present in A Realm Reborn, but the way he's played is less deft, and the way he's voice acted makes him just seem like discount cartoon Darth Vader, which is sad because I think he's actually. I know that's how I thought about him until I really experienced the rest of the game and then came back and was really paying attention to what he was saying. And then the story and lore around him and his history and legacy.
疑問に思ったこととか、これどうなってんだろうと思ったことがあれば、フォーラムとかいろんなところで声出しておいていただければ、世界のコミュニティチームで確認しまして、主要な質問はカバーできるようなまとめのトピックスを改めて 6.1 の前までに出しましょう。なので家がなくなったりとかはないので、リグループで家がなくなることは絶対にない。はい。
They're reiterating, make sure to use the forums if you have questions or if you feel like that you need to get in touch with the devs, which they do actively check. But that's mainly aimed towards the Japanese players and the new data server stuff. But that holds true for EU and NA. If you like, the forums are not a bad way to try and get in contact with the devs.
データセンタートラベルで他の論理 DC へこう移動したときにやれること。
Data center travel will for sure come out before the server regrouping. Now that's more specifically important for JP. But
それがあるからいいだろうって言いたいわけではないんですけど、それによってその論理 DC を超えるって気軽になったし、遊ぶっていうことにおいてはそんなにマイナス面がないねっていうのを理解していただいた上で実行しようと思ってますので、リーグループはちょっとなぜ今こうじゃあこんな早くっていうと、やっぱりこれから固定を組まれる方とか、そのどうしようっていう、絶固定組むのにこうじゃあリグループわかんないと組めないよねとか、そういうところにご心配をかけたくなかったので、できるだけ早めにお知らせ。
Okay, so this is it. They're wrapping up today's letter from the producer live. So they might have some final comments, but this is looking to be it.
はい、ということで、本日のプロデューサーレターライブは内容はここまでぐらいになりますね。で、残りの細かいことであるとか、これは実
There will be in-game footage and further details in the part 2 for the letter from the producer live, the next one, which will be soon. Because I mean, we're mid-April 6.1, so this is going to be probably later this March, later in March. Although maybe it's usually 2 weeks before the thing, so maybe it might be April, depending on where in April 6.1 launch.
では最初のお知らせこちらです。はい。
Yep, there we go.
プリンセスデーが今年は3月
oh no, that's Little Ladies Day.
はい、ちょっと遅めの開催となりますが、
14日から Little Ladies Day from 3:14 to 3:31.
で週明け月曜日になりましたらば、トピックスとか特設サイト
Find out more about it on this March 7th.
ご確認いただければと思いますのでよろしくお願いいたします。
はい。自動ログアウトもそろそろ解除でもいいかなとは思ってます。はい。もう少々お待ちください。はい、そして今日もう一点のお知らせこちらです。
Oh, and Yoshi P is saying he thinks that they can remove the auto logout feature soon.
というのを出しましたが、それに続きましてフランス語とドイツ語のトランスレーターを大募集しております。
Well, I mean, part of what they're getting at is they're doing that because of the Ultimates coming out. So they rebalance the jobs drastically. It's going to mess with everything that they've just spent a bunch of time making. I think we'll continue to see further changes in the coming days with the further patches. Yeah, absolutely, Tracy. I'm glad it was of some use and enjoyable for you guys.
FF14 担当希望と書いていただけると大変スムーズ。14チームとしては大変スムーズということですので、14でやりたいんだという方がいらっしゃれば、応募時にぜひその旨を書いておいていただけると、その後の手続きがスムーズになりますので。
I'll make sure to leave this live stream up for a day or two to make sure that any of you guys can both review it and also anyone who wants to has the ability to check it out.
そうですね。
Awesome. We'll go have a great lunch. I'm definitely going to bed after this. Oh, they're hiring French and German translators. Apparently, the French localizers have some fantastic stories about the localizing stuff during Heaven's Words and trying to figure out ways to make all the Eorzean French names work, but also they don't really make sense in French. It's a whole thing.
北米とかではね、一度リーグループさせていただいたりとかしてるんですけど、DC の日本はある意味 そのここまでの規模になる間ずっと安定的にやってきたっていうところがあるので、ちょっと混乱はあるかなと思って本当に申し訳なく思ってるんですけど。
Yeah, lovely to talk. I'm glad. Thanks for coming by, and hopefully you guys see you the next live stream. We usually do it every Saturday. We do community live streams and or different stuff, and then you can also get in contact with us on the Discords. And hope you guys enjoy our videos, our lore videos. Our most recent one is "What is Aether?" just came out. Definitely recommend checking that one out.
ぜひそちらの方ご確認いただければと思います。はい。
はい。
で指名をする。
指名をしましょう。そうですね。
はい。ちょっと空気的には辛いんですけど。
はい。
まあちょっと長い運営を前にもお話しましたが、運営考えていくとですね、どうしても今このタイミングで
Thanks for joining, everyone. Lovely to see you all. Probably be wrapping up in a couple minutes here, but again, I want to thank you all for joining me tonight today for this letter from the producer live.
の内容ね、まだ機能いっぱい拡張してってるんですが、これからも最高のね冒険を楽しんでいただけるようにですね、シナリオの新章結構衝撃的にいくと思いますんで。
Patch 6.1 will start the new storyline, and I'm sure it will be fun and dramatic.
遊んでいただけると大変助かります。はい、ありがとうございました。
ということで、第69回ファイナルファンタジー。
He said a little bit more. I'm waiting to see if they translate it.
いただきます。今日はまだ日付はお伝えしないんですけど、次回の PLL も意外とすぐやってきますので、また
次回いつでしたっけ？まだ言ってないんだっけ？
そうなんです。
The next producer live letter won't be that far away, but we can't say details because you would figure out the patch release. Because usually it's always 2 weeks after, I believe, the letter from the producer live. Cheers. To brave new adventures.
そんなに間を空けずに次回の PLL がございます。
次回は実機だのね、きっと映像やら何やらご覧いただくものがあるでしょう。ということで次回70回。
ついに70回
数えました。はい。次回第70回、プロデュースされたライブで再びお会いしたいと思います。その時まで一旦失礼します。今日はどうもありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。さ
ようなら。
Thank you, everyone. Bye, everyone. And I wish you a merry newfound travels or newfound adventures, everyone. See you all in Atheris, Hydaelyn, and have a lovely day, evening, or wherever you are. Cheers.